You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, here we go. Still alive. The Detroit Pistons find a way to get it done in Game 5, defeating the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden, 106-103. The final. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons postcast, a victorious one at that, a victorious playoff Locked On Pistons postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And this is the Locked On Pistons postcast, your postgame destination for all things Detroit Pistons. And shout out to all those tuning in, and of course, all of the Locked On Pistons viewers, and shout out to Koo and everybody on the Locked On Pistons production side of things, because we are fired up to be with you after a victorious game number 5. The Pistons are still alive. We'll talk about Cade Cunningham's performance, Jalen Duren, how clutch he was down the stretch, and Ausar Thompson, what a coming out party for him as well. I'll have my talking point, the turning point, and the way the Pistons solidified the victory in this one, and of course, our player of the game as well. It's all next on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. So buckle up, dial it in. As always, your comments are welcome. Let me know what you thought. Were you screaming at the television like I was? What was the biggest takeaway for you? And can this Detroit Pistons team do the unthinkable and come all the way back from being down 3-1? A chance to end that dreadful, long home playoff game losing streak, with the series now shifting back to Detroit and back to Little Caesars Arena. I'm excited for the Pistons to have an opportunity to end that streak and force a Game 7. But let's talk about game number 5. Listen, I was a little bit dejected after that loss in game number 4, obviously with the controversy of the no call on Tim Hardaway Jr., and I thought this Pistons team did what they do. And I shouldn't be surprised. I don't think anybody else is surprised, but they were ready to play from the jump. It had the fabrics of a old school rock'em sock'em playoff basketball game between the New York Knicks and Detroit Pistons, just very old school, like we've been seeing time and time again in this series. And the series has been so freaking close all the way through. It's such a shame that the Pistons have come up on the short end 3 times in this series, because they really have, aside from game 1, played really well. And there were some struggles in game number 3, sure, but well enough to win in 4 of these first 5 games. So here we go. We've got a game number 6 with the Pistons down 3-2. And given the set of circumstances that the Pistons and JB Bickerstaff were presented with, this was the best case scenario following this evening's game. All right, I want to work in some of these comments before we get to my huge talking point. And we begin with Demetrius McNeil. Pistons storybook season will continue. Meanwhile, I bet the Bucks are going to implode after their 3rd straight first-round loss. Game 7 at the Garden. That's right, the Pacers did beat the Bucks. They're eliminated. So, yeah, that's a good question there. I certainly, with Dame's injury, I don't see the Bucks, that core moving forward. But not enough about the Bucks. Let's get back to the Pistons. R1 VJ4, Detroit Pistons versus New York Knicks, and those crooked NBA officials. Yeah, I was getting upset with the officiating tonight. I really was. And I try not to be officiating guy and blame the officials guy and scream at the TV guy. But Jalen Brunson, man, he's a phenomenal player. He's a world-class player. So for every Knicks player or Knicks fan that's watching this cast, know that I think the world of Jalen Brunson as a player. But man, does he hunt the whistle? Does he get the whistle? And does it make it very, very frustrating and at times really tough to watch? There was one sequence in that 4th quarter where he somehow gets the charge, draws the charge on Cade, even though both feet were moving, looked like he was on skis, for goodness sakes, then comes back and gets an and one bucket on a relatively cheap call, in my opinion. But hey, the Pistons overcame it. They overcame JB Bickerstaff at times tonight. Let's not forget his unsuccessful challenge and then compiling that with a technical foul. Now, you can say what you want about maybe that firing up the guys or something of that nature, but I felt like at that juncture in the game, it was very ill-advised to take a technical foul. But again, all is well that ends well, and the Detroit Pistons found a way to win this one. How did they do it? Well, that's what our talking point is.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Pistons go on a 6-0 run to close this one out in a sense, and not necessarily close it out because the Knicks, you got to give them credit, hit a couple of shots. I mean, that 1-3 was just ridiculous towards the end. But in a tie game, you get 2 putback buckets by Jalen Duren, followed by a floater by Cade Cunningham, and the Pistons never let up the lead after that. And the way the Pistons closed this down in the fourth quarter, aside from the very, very late flurry from the New York Knicks, where they make the 3 and then they're fouling and that sort of thing, it was really, really impressive, especially in that fourth quarter. So when the game is tied, before the Pistons go on that 6-0 run, it's Ausar Thompson makes a shot to put him up 103-97. And with that being said, you got to give a lot of credit to Ausar Thompson as well. I thought this was one of his best games, no doubt about it, with the final score. I mean, 22 points. He was +9 in this one. Cade with 24 points. I mean, just a lot of contributions from Ausar, who's really efficient from the field as well. 8 of 10 from the floor. And those are the type of efforts you need to win a playoff game. And there's no other way to put it. You got to have all hands on deck. And the additional boost that Ausar Thompson gave this Detroit Pistons team is a huge reason why they are going back to Detroit in this series is extended. So that is your talking point on a victorious Locked On Pistons postcast here. Jake Riepma with you, 106-93, the final in this one. I mean, you look at the quarter by quarter scoring, and it was deadlocked in 3 of the 4 quarters. Really, this game was just always close. Neither team could pull away. I mean, the Knicks outscored the Pistons by 1 in the first quarter, led by 1 at the break. And then the Pistons had a flurry in that third quarter, just like you saw in game number 4. And then that fourth quarter absolutely deadlocked as well. I mean, there's just, these two teams are so close, and the margin for error is so thin that for the Pistons to go on the road and get a win like that was absolutely incredible and just electric stuff, and a night to be proud of for the Detroit Pistons. All right. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to have our player of the game as well as our turning point. We'll take your comments as well, as the Detroit Pistons are going back to Detroit in a game number 6. They stave off elimination from the New York Knicks, and let's see if the Pistons can get a win at home. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. This episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. That's right, Monarch Money. If you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you the full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, my friends. No. It's way more than that. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. You gotta love the surprising insights. When you start using Monarch, you realize just how much you spend on things you don't necessarily need, food delivery. And it's not necessarily about eliminating them, but just being smarter with it. Budget smarter and save more. There's also an easy collaboration tool so you can manage money with your partner. It's smoother than ever, and you can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals together and just stay on the same page without any of the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Locked On NBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. This episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is also brought to you by Wayfair. All right, spring is here, my friends, and that means it's home project season. Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. From small business updates and small updates like stylish cabinet hardware to major upgrades like new vanities, sinks, or outdoor lighting, Wayfair has quality products for every budget. That's right. Small updates, stylish cabinets, hardware, major upgrades, new vanities, you name it. Sinks, outdoor lighting. That's right. They're free and fast shipping makes it easy. So there's no hauling heavy items from the store. And I love that they have top brands like GE and Moen at great prices. I just love that. Shopping is seamless, and you find exactly what you need to fit your space every time. Wayfair makes home improvement easy. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every single style, every home. Pistons force a game number 6 with a win in game number 5. They stave off elimination from the New York Knicks and do it on the road, no less. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons postcast. And time now to get to our turning point where this one turned in favor of the Detroit Pistons.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The surge down the stretch for the Detroit Pistons certainly turned this one in favor of the Pistons, but I also think the defense that was played at that particular juncture in the game helped swing this one in favor of the Detroit Pistons. And I know it's a playoff cliche, but boy, did the Pistons down the stretch just get every loose ball, every 50-50 ball, and even on that inbound pass where it felt like they tried to turn it over. Malik Beasley's in the right place at the right time. Tobias Harris alertly tipping it to him to keep that possession alive and not turn the ball over. And I don't want to necessarily say it was a masterclass by the Detroit Pistons to win this one. They simply did more than the opposition in crunch time, allowing them to secure the victory. And you know what? I think they were on the brink. They were so close from this in all of the losses, really, aside from maybe game 1. But man, this was a time where they needed to overcome and push through, and they did exactly that. So things you love to see, the Detroit Pistons earning a playoff win. Now the series shifts back to Detroit, 3-2 lead for the New York Knicks. All right, our player of the game tonight.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
There's a couple of different directions you could go with this one because I do think it was a total team effort. There was one instance where Cade Cunningham was on the bench midway through the fourth quarter, and I was screaming at the television and just begging and pleading for JB Bickerstaff to put Cade back in the game, and he did. And, of course, some clutch baskets down the stretch by your certified superstar, Cade Cunningham. But Ausar Thompson, my goodness. I mean, one of the final buckets, Cade did a tremendous job in finding Ausar Thompson alone at the basket. Maybe not necessarily alone, but open at the rim. Terrific pass, finds Thompson, he finishes, and the Pistons are able to continue to add to that lead late in crunch time. So Cade Cunningham and Ausar Thompson can share the player of the game tonight from the Locked On Pistons postcast, because, man, were they truly, truly special. And Jalen Duren, I mean, man, the guy was just a workhorse, and what he lacks sometimes in overall skill and technique, he makes up for with the hustle and playing the game the right way. He was, I mean, even just the 9 points, but he was plus 17 tonight with him on the floor. Pistons got to get some production from the bench. I mean, the entire bench really struggled between Dennis Schroeder. He was minus 17, Beasley minus 15, just 2 of 7 from the long line. Paul Reed minus 10. It was the starters that got this one done. Every single starter is in the plus category. Still need more from Tim Hardaway Jr., though, if we're being honest. I mean, just 2 of 10 from the floor, 1 of 7 from the long line. But Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris, got to give him a lot of credit as well, and Ausar Thompson will this team to victory. So you got to love it. There you go. The Detroit Pistons, baby. How about it? Did anybody out there expect the Detroit Pistons to win 2 playoff games this year? I think not, but hey, we are not satisfied yet. Got to go and force a game 7. Crazier things have happened than coming down from 3 games to 1. It's very, very rare, absolutely, but this was the first step in that direction, because it's 1 game at a time. And now it turns back to Detroit for game number 6. And you think, man, it's time, and they're due. That's what I'm trying to get at. The Pistons are so due for a big win. So that game comes your way Thursday night. Of course, we'll have a live Locked On Pistons postcast following the conclusion of that one to break it all down. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. And I'm getting some comments on this hat. If you're watching on the YouTube, yes, I am rocking a 2015 Detroit Pistons hat. I think this was the draft hat that a buddy of mine that worked for the Pistons at the time got me. So, yeah, that's the old school logo on the side there. Yeah, it is. And you got the Detroit underneath the bill. Yeah, I appreciate the comment there. R1VJ4. Yeah, it's old school. So there you go. Gotta bring out the Pistons hat when they are victorious in the postseason like tonight. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Always a pleasure. Don't go anywhere. Over on Locked On Tigers, we'll have a post-game show following the conclusion of their game against the Astros. And unfortunately, it does not appear that we're going to have a lot of good news to report on that front, because the Tigers are trailing 6-2. Maybe we'll have a comeback here in the 9th inning. But don't go anywhere, or actually do go to the Locked On Tigers cast. There you go. How about that? All right. Last comment, T from the 203. Did you see the floor at MSG with the ripple effect? Yeah, that's what that was. I saw the floor. I just like the traditional floor, man. That's just especially an iconic venue in the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. But that's just my old man yelling at clouds, get off my lawn take for you. But all right, Locked On Tigers coming up next over on Locked On Tigers. And right now, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Go Pistons. We'll be back with you on Thursday night. Detroit defeats the New York Knicks in game number 5, 106-103. Stave off elimination. We'll see you next time on Live Locked On Pistons postcast. Thanks so much for tuning in.